It's 7 o'clock. We will call the village board meeting to order. If everyone rise to say the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The clerk will please call the roll.
Marevka. Here. Jones. Here. March. Here. Parker. Here. Ham. Here. Bowden.
Here. Approval or corrections to the minutes of the December 10th, 2018 regular village board meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as written? If not, a motion to accept as written.
So moved. Second.
Motion by trustee March, seconded by trustee Jones.
March.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Marevka.
Yes.
Bowden.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
And Parker.
Yes.
Accounts payable and payroll.
Unless I put it in the wrong one, you should have.
Oh, there it is, never mind. Payroll pay period ending 12/15/18 in the amount of $46,662.17. General fund, $42,545.66, giving a total of all funds of $42,545.66. So these are from the 12/15 payroll and bill payment. So we just need a vote to ratify that, a motion to ratify those being paid.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
Motion by trustee Bowden, seconded by trustee Marevka.
Bowden.
Yes.
Marevka.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
March.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
And Ham.
Yes.
And the payroll pay period ending 12/29/18 in the amount of $45,049.24. General fund, $26,701.67. Motor fuel tax fund, $34,982.04. Water and sewer fund, $43,857.50, giving a total of all funds $105,541.21. Are there any questions on any of those bills? If not, a motion to pay the payroll and the bills.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Motion by trustee Ham, seconded by trustee Parker.
Ham.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
March.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Marevka.
Yes.
Bowden.
Yes.
Public comment and/or questions on any non-agenda item. We'll move on to reports of committees, officials, and staff. We have item A, village administrator report, and I just want to formally welcome Amy Ingalls as our new village administrator. Amy started on January the 2nd this year, so she kind of dived right in, and we've been taking quite a few meetings and talking to a bunch of people, and I know Amy's taken some time and talked to some of the trustees already one-on-one, and I think she's going to continue to do that, and just welcome and
Thanks.
looking forward to it.
Thank you.
So what do you have for us?
That's
Anything?
about it.
That's about it.
It doesn't take a lot to say, but that was, I've done that in about, so it's been 10 days today that I've been here. So it's been great, and everybody's been really friendly and welcoming, and but I have taken a lot of time to internally just sit down with staff and try to get to know them in their role and talk to them and see what's kind of going on internally, going through some paper stacks on the desk and get through them and see what they are, and then go, okay, Marcy, where does this go and what does this do, and get to know in detail, which is what I'm here for, what the projects are. But then we've taken a lot of external meetings with groups. For example, we're in a sub-insurance pool, and I need to get out, I need to get involved in that group. So I'll take that meeting tomorrow, but we've met with Will County Governmental League, we're involved in transportation, in their transportation committee and group, and I know that Robinson's been attending that, but I think we need to be at the table directly. So they're gonna come out and get me up to speed on regionally what's going on with transportation. But we've met with Aqua, and I'll continue to go out and meet with the external groups. But I've, tried to be working with Public Works and see what's going on with projects there. So balancing external and internal meetings, but then also getting my cards made, getting the computer set up, some housekeeping items like that. But also meeting with, had a walk-in today with a woman who was interested in some buildings downtown. So I met with her and talked to her. But we're working on economic development while we're doing all of this. So I hope to, as we move forward, have a report for you under the admin report, but report to you on economic development activity. So it'll be a little bit more robust than what today's report is.
Good. Trustees, you got anything? Any questions? Great. Thank you, Amy. We move on to police chief's report.
With your agenda, I think I'll pass.
All right. How about engineer's report?
Just one quick thing. I finally got in contact with the company doing the pavement management plan for the village, the CMAP grant the village was awarded. They were a little ambitious with their original start date of January to do the pavement evaluation. They have it scheduled now for April 18th and 19th to be in town for driving the town with the vans, the video, and all the pavement evaluations. That could change, obviously, but right now that's the date they gave us, and then they said they'll turn around quickly, and it results in May. And they'll also be installing that software on a village computer to be able to, the software that breaks down all the different evaluation and, by year, what streets to do and everything like that. So they're gonna be involved with that as well.
Good.
That's all I have.
That's all? Okay. In your packet, you have a copy of the Code Enforcement Yearly Summary Report. There is no old business, so we will move on to new business. Item A, special event application, discussion approval of the Peotone Car Club 32nd Annual Car Show, July the 27th, 2000. That should read 19.
Yes.
2019, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. with street closure. And we have with us Todd Sandberg.
Okay. Well, it don't really seem like car show season right now, but there is always pressure on the internet to make sure we get out there, get it advertised, let everybody know what's going on. A lot of these guys plan their schedule out way in advance for the whole summer. And plus you get other different things that happen during the summer, town events, everything.
So
there's not a free weekend during the summer.
Right. This is your normal Saturday though, right?
Yeah,
it's normally the 4th.
Yes. Normal Saturday. Just trying to get everything out in front of us so we can start doing a little advertising. Let everybody know we're still here.
So we're looking at from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. So we're looking at closing 2nd Street from Main to Crawford, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Which is what we've done in.
Yeah, it's basically all the closings are the same we've done in the past.
How many entries did you end up with last year?
I think we were around 140. We were a little less than last year.
Okay.
But the weather was a little funny, and there was 2 other shows. One was in Crown Point or Cedar Lake, and we had another one somewhere else that was fairly close to us. So like I say, the sooner I can get the word out,
right,
to let them know, it helps our event out. There's so much competition anymore. There's just trying to get people to let you know you're still having it. I get inquiries all the time. It was like New Year's Day. I have people emailing me, Facebooking me. When's the date? Well, gotta go to the village. A lot of places they rent facilities or they use a parking lot somewhere. We don't do that. We close down the downtown. We're a completely different entity when it comes to that. So.
Well, it's always been a great show, always a great success. So, any questions from the board?
So I move we approve the special event application.
Second?
Second.
Motion by trustee March, seconded by trustee Jones.
March?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Marevka?
Yes.
Bowden?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
And then along with that, we have the amplifier permit application for the special event for the same day and times.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by trustee Bowden, seconded by trustee March.
Bowden?
Yes.
March?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Marevka?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Thank you, Todd. You're all set.
All right, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Good luck.
All right, item B, item C, raffle licenses. Will County Farm Bureau, multiple raffles for scholarship fundraisers. In your packet, you have the application. This is from the Will County Farm Bureau, and they are applying for two to four raffles per the calendar year for the $25 fee. Looks like they've got a fundraiser for scholarship at their annual meeting, and then at the Will County Fair also, and then also some silent auction raffles. Discussion? Motion to approve?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Motion by trustee Marevka, second was by trustee Jones.
Marevka?
Yes.
Jones?
Yep.
March?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Bowden?
Yes.
The number 2, Tractors for a Cure, multiple raffles for the St. Jude's Cancer Research Hospital. They are applying for the 5 or more raffles per calendar year for the $50 fee. This includes, they're having their cash bash at the American Legion and several others.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by trustee March, seconded by trustee Ham.
March?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Bowden?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Marevka?
Yes.
Item D, approval of the 2019-2024 Police Union Contract, International Brotherhood of Teamsters Local 700, and the Village of Peotone.
Yes, so this is the, I know the chief and Jim Bartley from our office worked long and hard on this. We ended up with a 5-year term with terms consistent with what the board has discussed a number of times back in executive session. And so 5 years will give you a nice long run with peace of mind, and I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has, but we've talked about it quite a bit previously.
Any questions, discussion? If not, a motion to adopt the agreement between the Village of Peotone and the International Brotherhood of Teamsters Local 700.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by trustee Jones, seconded by trustee Marevka.
Jones?
Yes.
Marevka?
Yes.
Bowden?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
March?
Yes.
Approval, item E, approval of the 2019-2022 Public Works Union Contract, International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 399, and the Village of Peotone.
All right, so this is the contract with the Public Works workers. This is a brand-new contract. They, for the first time they've unionized, so everything in it is new. But it is a 4-year contract that, again, Jim Bartley and Mayor worked on with the representatives from the union, and it's, again, been pretty well covered back in executive session. But I'm happy to answer any questions.
So it's a 3-year contract.
3-year,
Yes.
I apologize.
That's good. Again, we've had numerous discussions on this. Any questions, any clarification? If not, a motion to approve the labor agreement between the Village of Peotone and the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 399, January 1st, 2019 through March the 31st, 2022.
Motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
Motion by trustee Parker, seconded by trustee Marevka.
Parker?
Yes.
Marevka?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
March?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Bowden?
Yes.
Item F, discussion approval of 6-month consultant agreement for economic development services between the Village of Peotone and GMT Management Consulting, Gene Steinmark. For the past 3 months, we've been working with GMT and Gene Steinmark. We had an agreement with them that involved economic development, also an interim village administrator, and also helping conduct the search for the permanent village administrator. So that agreement was for 3 months, which is terminated at the end of December. So we do have, several projects actually working right now that they have been helping us with and been very involved in. And it's my goal to create, some kind of a transition, from them, all the way over, just, back to us. And I think through a 6-month period, we'll be able to accomplish finalizing, some of these things, and then also getting us in a position where we can review it at the end of 6 months. But my goal is to kind of get everything back to our side, and then we can move forward from there.
I apologize for parsing every word, but could you look at Exhibit A, second page? It's a real short page.
It's my Exhibit A. I don't.
Second page of that.
Real short page. Okay,
There
got you.
you
Go
go.
ahead.
All right, so second to last paragraph, it says that the expenses are going to be for travel outside the Richardson Park area. Is that, they're based in Homewood, we're in Peotone. How does Richardson Park work into this, or is that just a typo?
That might be a typo. I think he might have stolen this from a different agreement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my best guess.
Yeah.
He carried that over from a previous,
That was my only question.
So we will strike that entire sentence, like, actually, yeah, we'll just strike that from extraordinary expenses down. We take that out?
Thank you.
No problem?
Yep.
I don't think that would be an issue.
And then the other change that I had asked him to make was that on Exhibit A, the first page, on number G, letter G, since it's only 6 months, he had wanted to submit a report every 3 months, and I had asked him to change that to every month,
So the monthly,
monthly.
and then we would probably do that at the committee of the whole, which is where we've been, unless we have an action item, then we do it at the board meeting.
So is the cap 4,000 a month? I mean, is that what, are we paying just a flat fee of 4,000?
Correct.
Or
It's a
okay.
flat
Okay.
fee. It's the flat fee of 4,000. And again, we've been spending a lot of time. I mean, I've been working a lot, with Gene and with Mike when he was here also. We've taken a lot of meetings. We're talking to several people. We've got another meeting in the morning with another person who was interested in one of the parcels at the I-57 interchange. We have one, on the west side that we've been working at for the past several months. And I think we're getting really close to being able to bring something to the board, on that. So there's been a lot of conversation, talk going back and forth, but until I get something, in writing, that I can bring to the board, I mean, that's the goal.
I think, Gene is a great resource for the town and for economic development, and I think it'd be great, to help Amy get up to speed, so I would move that we approve this.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by trustee March, second by trustee Jones to approve the consultant agreement with GMT LLC.
March?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Marevka?
Yes.
Bowden?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
All right, item G, discussion approval of additional contribution to the police pension fund. We've talked about this, we started talking about this after we had our report from the police pension committee board, the police pension board, I should say. And then they were asking for a further contribution from the village. We've talked about it a couple times at board meetings. Some of the board members had asked for some more information. So we're just brought it back to the table for further discussion, questions. Dave Rock, the president of the Police Pension Board, is here, and Chief Mort is here also. So I guess if anybody has questions or thoughts or comments, you can just go forward in that manner.
So is there a specific request?
Well, I think the board's specific request, was, I believe, $5 million is what they were looking at.
The unfunded liability.
The unfunded liability.
Is approximately $5 million based upon
the amount,
actuarial report.
Yeah, one of the amounts, or the amount that we were talking about, was in an attempt to get them to a point where they could do some more aggressive investments. And that number was, I think, it was close to $2 million. So at that $2 million mark, it would get them to a point where they would be able to.
Yeah, $2.5 million in the fund allows to go to 40% in equities. It also allows you to go into, that puts it at a level where it starts to make sense looking at bond, A-rated bonds, or which is an option. You could start to extend out the ladder, the maturity of the portfolio. There's not much. Right now, there's not much incentive to go longer term. The rate curve is pretty flat. So, and the indication is rates are probably going to be going up. So there's not a lot of incentive to do that right now. Much the same as that, when I'm looking at it, it's hard to say in the longest bull market in the history of the stock market, now is probably not the time to throw it all into the stock market. I'd look to do a dollar cost average and go in it, around, numbers I'm throwing out. If we had $3 million in the fund, well, I was to 40%. And the thing of it is until we get to $2.5 million in the fund, we can't go more than 10%. So it's that we need to get enough in there to where then we have the opportunity to be able to start going dollar cost averaging into the stock market. And if we see if we have a correction, that's the time to increase the amount that you're going in. But that correction, when it occurs, we need to be in a position to be able to go and then invest into it, and not at that time come and say, well, gee, can we get more money in? Because by the time that happens, we probably missed a lot of the upside that would have occurred. So, numbers I'm looking at is that if at $3 million, 40% would give us the ability to do $1.2 million into the market. We currently have about just under 200,000. We're over the 10% allotment because of the growth that's occurred in the fund. Our basis investment into the stock market is under that 10%. So that's they encourage you to rebalance, but you're not required to. And when we're that little in the stock market, it's kind of like, well, we're not required to. We'll keep that larger percentage in. So if we were going 20,000 a month into a stock portfolio, you're basically 4 years before you invested $1 million to get to the $1.2 million, with not knowing what other investments are going to go. Currently, the demands on the fund are greater than what the contributions are. Let me get to my other sheet of paper. We've got about $15,000 a month going out to annuity payments, with about, was it 11,000, 12,000 contributions. Yeah, I can find that. Yeah, we've got about 11,000 in payroll deposits coming in, and about 15,000, 14.6 a month in payments going out to retirees. Looking at where does this $5 million come from? That's the unfunded liability. There's $1.2 million approximately in the fund right now. Looking at life expectancy of current and retired sworn officers. Looking at life expectancy tables. You also pay, one of the risks is it's a small portfolio or a small life base, so you've got there's a lot of risk, and that risk goes both ways. So we could end up, $5 million could be plenty, or $5 million could be very little. If you had an unforeseen incident of an officer on duty were to pass, that $5 million won't be anywhere near enough. And just looking at the current $15,000 a month at 6% for a 30-year, figuring that those current annuitants would live maybe 30 years, at 6%, that's $2.5 million of liability. At 4%, it's $3.2 million of current value liability, present value. So, $5 million is not that big of a number for for what's out there. And as the board goes, we're just there to administer the funds that you're provided and provide accounting. If you want to take and keep all the money and invest it and just meet the minimum requirements under the statute to get to the 100% level, that's something you could do as well. But it is a true liability. Is it a exact known, dollar liability that you have as if it were a loan at the bank and you could say, what are we going to put in? No. It is, there's a lot of variables, and an actuary just brings it together into a single number for an annual analysis.
So Dave, just roughly, if we were to put $2 million extra into it right now, it says percent funded, we're what, around 20, 23, 20, 25, something around in there?
Yeah.
So what would our percent funding if we put another $2 million in there? So,
well, it's not going to change the accrued liability. The accrued liability is $6.3 million.
Right.
So if you take 6.3, I don't have and you put another $2 million in with the $1.2 million that's there right now.
So it'll be closer to 50%.
You're going to be real close to a 50% number. The annual contribution requirement would go down. This last year, the levy requirement of $343,000. What that number will be, I mean, if you put $2 million in, I'm just going to pull a number out of it's probably going to be somewhere around $200,000. Just my guess. Just looking at how that number has been changing.
So what's the minimum we have to contribute to get to the 40% equities?
The fund has to have $2.5 million in it.
2.5, not 2.
The fund has to have $2.5 million. The fund currently has $1.3 million, $1.2 million. Now,
the sheet I have in front of me says 1461555.
okay.
We got one sheet in our mailboxes today.
Okay.
Says actuarial value.
That was the actuarial value, yeah.
The second sheet has what the fund has in it. That's from the payroll, from the village treasurer.
139.
139409.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's at the basis of the mutual fund at 90,000. The mutual funds. as of December 31, keep that in mind, market's been a little volatile, was 177,000. So there's, on top of that 90,000 that's listed there, you've got another 80,000, call it.
So 147.
Yeah, so.
So there's 147 in there?
If we use that number.
Now, keep in mind that if we're pushing higher to the 40% level, or if you just put in enough to be right at 2.5 million, and the market drops a little bit, then we can be back down to the 10% real quick. And then we'd have to be liquidating. At that point in time, we would have to be liquidating because we are limited to the 10%, and we had put in more than 10%. Our basis would be then more than 10%, and we would have to be liquidating in a down market, which is right when the time you want to probably be putting in, not drawing out.
What kind of a time frame do they give you to liquidate to meet the requirement?
That's an annual look.
If you invest in the stock market and the stock market goes badly, the funds that were lost from the contributions, what happens?
It becomes additional liability of the village. That's the whole definition of a defined benefit plan is, not a defined contribution plan.
So is the
Same.
defined contribution plan, defined benefit plan that we have right now, is that a state requirement, or is that just between us and the?
That's the state, Article 4 or what?
Yeah.
Article 3.
So that's not something that we negotiate,
No.
that's the state, yeah,
That-
so
that's
we don't have anything to do with that.
The only thing that you have to do with that is negotiating your salaries with,
Right.
with your officers, but the actual benefits
Yeah.
are defined in the Constitution.
Right. Okay.
Is 40% the maximum you can have in equities, no matter how much is in the fund?
No, I think 5 million's another cut, and then you
Yeah,
go up to
goes 5, and then
60%.
it goes up to 12, the
Six-
bigger funds.
It goes to
Big money.
60%, I think.
Yeah.
In any event, though, if you were forced into a liquidation situation, you could have like up to 11 months to satisfy that.
No, you could be down to the, 3 days,
You could be, but I mean, if
Yeah.
it was,
because it's the annual audit is where it has to, what they look at. Unless the attorney's gonna tell me I'm all wrong.
I mean, what would happen if the audit noted that we were over the limit? Wouldn't we, that would be noted, right, but we would still get time?
The Department of Insurance is very critical in their annual report back to us.
Okay.
And, the thing about it is, like Dave said, what the market says it's worth, we see what those plans are worth. And like I said, it can go up and down. The Department of Insurance, for the annual audit, we have to supply them the report. They're very critical. They just look at hard numbers. How much is in the mutual funds, and if it goes over 10%, he will get a letter from the Department of Insurance along with our attorneys for you, because they will file an objection and ask you what you're going to do to correct that problem, because it comes back to the village and the pension board. We had a few years ago, we got a nasty grant from them because the market was better, and it raised us above, we're talking 1.5% above the 10. And they sent us some bad letters that said, and we had to explain to them what we're gonna do to try to solve that so it doesn't happen again. So we had, every year we have to file that report with the accountants are involved in it.
And what happens when you have to liquidate? Does it just go back to the general fund?
No, it just stays in the, it's a pension, stays in the pension.
Okay.
It's just that it goes from
It just go, you just can't.
into cash or
Okay.
bonds, something outside of the the stock market. You can only have up to, right now we're limited to a 10% based upon the basis value.
It's an easy fix.
Our cost value, that we can be in the stock market, which is that 90,000 number. And that's why, but we can't add to it while we're over the 10% in market value. But the concern is that if you said, okay, we're gonna put, get you there, we're gonna give you $2.6 million, get your fund up to $2.6 million to invest. And then the market takes a correction, and we've been putting in money, so we're at 20%. Well, we drop below 2.5, we're going to have to liquidate down to get below 10% at that point in time by the annual audit, because we no longer can say, well, we didn't put it, our basis is under 10%, therefore we'll just let it ride at this point in time. We wouldn't have that option then. And it could be that, like we've had happen here, we put 90,000 in, it's worth 177 now. And then we're all real happy. I just wanting to look at, that's risk. And over the long term, being in the stock market is better than being in CDs.
And like I said, last Thursday, Dave and the pension board met with one of our, you see a lot of the Raymond James. We have a financial, what we call him, an advisor. He's a financial advisor, he's licensed, but the unique situation here is we don't pay any points for him to, or any service fees for his company to do this. It becomes on a relationship. I knew him through his brother-in-law who used to work for the county. So we're his only police pension client that he doesn't charge any points to for these decisions on what to invest in. Like I said, he talked to Dave and the pension board members about the portfolio that our annual monthly reports come from him. And and Dave brings up about the stock market, and he says a lot of, like you said, those funds are in a solid group of funds that have better returns over the last many years. But that's more of Dave's portfolio, being the pension board president.
So, I mean, my thoughts are that, obviously this is a problem that is not just Peotone, that's across the whole state, because, the legislature and, the governor refused to address the pension problem. But I don't think that this is ever gonna go away. If they address the pension problem, it's gonna be on a, new hires, probably not, they're not gonna take benefits away.
They have created 2 tiers for the new hires in the last few years.
That was tier 1, tier 2.
But there's, it's still defined, it's still defined benefit, though.
It's still defined benefit plan.
Yeah.
Just the,
So we take all the risk in investment and
Yes.
everything, yeah, so.
I mean, the Supreme Court has made it, the Illinois Supreme Court, who happens to be judges who also are under a pension plan,
Right,
have made it clear that you can't create a crisis by not funding.
right,
And then say that you're not going to, and then reduce the benefits.
right.
It's a crisis because of, some would argue because of lack of funding. It wouldn't be a crisis if it was funded. So now where do you get the funds? Well, you happen to have an opportunity, you do have the funds at this point in time.
Yeah.
So if we didn't have if we hadn't sold the sewer works, what would we do?
Continued as we were.
But you would have an asset still on your books.
So,
Which you no longer have.
so we have $12 million in the bank, and we have a $6 million liability. And last time I asked this question, you said your recommendation was we give the pension board $5 million of that 12 million.
I said that's what our liability is.
Okay.
But
We still have the 12 million in the bank. We still have that money.
Correct.
To fund our liability.
Yep.
If we give it to you, it's gone. Correct?
No, it's funded the liability.
It's moved it over from this side of the balance sheet to that side of the balance sheet.
Correct.
Your side of the balance sheet versus the village.
Yep. Right now, you've got a liability over here for a pension liability that is now on the, it used to just be buried in the notes to the financial statement. In the last 2 years, 3 years, it moved up to the, as an actual identified liability.
And the wild card, like you said, you can't really predict the future as far as how many annuitants there are and who gets hurt or who retires happily and all that. But the other wild card in the system is there's a state pension crisis on the horizon where somebody's gonna have to I think somebody's gonna have to rewrite some of these laws. They say they can't, but there's a bigger crisis on the horizon coming. You can't predict the outcome of that either.
Yeah, I personally don't agree with the Supreme Court's ruling that once you're in the plan, that you're guaranteed it for the life you want to work there. To me, tomorrow's a brand new day.
Right.
And and therefore it should be subject. I mean, what is accrued is accrued. And that's we'll see what happens, but the state workers have been working without a contract, and there's a good reason why they have not gone on strike. Because if they walk off, then they could be locked out, and therefore they would no longer be employees.
Yeah.
So you're not going to see them go on strike because it wouldn't be in their best interest.
Yeah.
That's my own, I'm giving some editorial comment.
And I think on the other hand too, the one thing that I look at is, I agree and I understand what you're saying as far as it's in the bank, it's there, we have it potentially fund it. But just getting over that next hump, that next dollar amount where it gives the pension board a little more flexibility in how they invest and how they can create more return. You know, that's kind of, I think, what really kind of started this whole conversation.
Right.
And it also reduces, in the end, our minimum contribution yearly by.
I mean, I'll take an argument to give me nothing, just meet the annual contribution required under the code, and you guys can invest it 100% in the stock market. I mean, you don't have any limitations. I'm not saying that's a smart way to do it either, because I wouldn't want to put that much in the stock market when it's at a 10-year plus bull run. It's probably not the wisest thing to do. But you have a liability out there, and that's whether you put it in the fund, but you need to maintain that is a liability and that you reserve assets to cover that liability. Or you fund the liability, one or the other. What would not be good is 5 years from now to come back still at 20% funded and there's no money left in the bank. That's not what is in the best interest of everybody.
I'd like to hold off then, giving away 40% of our utility sale right away in the first 3 months of the sale. But
Well, it wouldn't be 40. I mean, what we're talking about, at least, again, what I think I'm hearing is somewhere in the neighborhood of 2, which isn't 40%. It's 20. 20.
we're in 2 and 5, so.
Right. Yeah, 5 is the fully funded.
Yeah.
It would still make our yearly amount go down, like what
Correct.
we would have to give, right?
Just paying off the extra we owe.
Right, I know, but I think if we give so much, then we don't have to owe so much at the end of the year. Like, what do we put in there now? 15,000, is that what you said?
No, that was the,
15,000 is the current annuitant benefits, and it's about 11,000 from the sworn officers, their contributions, and the payroll deduction contributions. And then in addition to that is your levy, and it goes in. And the projected levy requirement was 343. Yeah.
But if we paid that down, then our levy requirement would go down also each year, right?
The levy, well, if a larger than, I mean, under the analysis is that the levy requirement of $343,000 is what would, if that was made, and all the assumptions that the actuary made, next year, the argument is it would be another $343,000 for the remaining, I don't know what the amortization period left is, about 20 years. Yeah, because it was a 30-year amortization, about 10 years into the gig. So over the next 20 years, it'd be $343,000 if you didn't make anything in order to get to the full funding. But that formula is like this. And that's the, when they talk about the crisis, part of that is because that's what Springfield did when they put it in, said what the annual requirements are. It was all predicated on an exponential curve. That everything was, you know, it's not too bad right now, and then about, you know, it wasn't too bad for 10 years, and then it starts to really, in the last 10 years of it, is just unattainable. And that's why about every 10 to 15 years, they make changes. So that way they can reset it and push it down the road. But the unfunded numbers are just crazy. And I just, pensioned organization sent out in the city of Chicago pension funding in the last, I think it was 7 years, went from about 70% down to like 30% in 7 years. It just, that liability is just amazing. And that's across a lot of funds.
So I guess I'm looking for, I guess, what the rest of the board is thinking.
I think we should wait.
How many dollars does it take to get us to the point of a 40% equity?
Well, I mean, to get right at it, I think we're looking at 1.1 theoretically.
Yeah, and then you're just right at it. And if
Right.
the market makes a little correction, then we're liquidating.
2.5 would get us above that.
Well, 2.5 is the number that we need to be at. We're right at about 1.4 now. So 1.1
I mean,
would
if
get
we
us to the
put that in, then
2.5.
It would just give us that little bit of leeway.
Correct. So I mean, if you went, just saying, if you went 1.5 to 2, that would give you a little bit of wiggle room.
And I'm not wanting to sit there and be watching the market that close to say, oh, we gotta back out what we did. You know, because that'd be a pain.
I think that's why the 2 number was talked about previously.
And to make it clear, I'm not looking to take get to the 40% the day the money comes in. I'm looking at a dollar cost average around $20,000 a month. So, although if we have a 30% retracement, that's the time that number should probably be doubled. Take advantage of the future increases.
Also, if I could just add, if you wait to fund it by the village funding, you're gonna find out that in your tax levy, you're gonna be over the 5% total of your funding for the whole village, because you guys see the financial report prepared, and that tax levy, if it's over 5, you have to have a
Truth in taxation.
and you're also, you have some limits because you're in the collar counties of the state. So those are more adding factors of, if you want to say, well, fund the pension system by what the actuary says, well, you've been funding it below the actuarial amounts, but you've been staying within your 5% maximum tax cap, or tax levy.
I'd like to see the first action of our utility sale benefit the greater community more than the individual fund, pension fund of a few. I think that's a more important step for our first step.
On the other hand, I mean, this is a liability for the whole village. It's all the taxpayers. It's not just the village board or the police fund. I mean, the policemen. I mean, we got ourselves into this. I don't know. I could see the point of, you know, leaving the money in our fund, but the problem is that we're not investing that money right now. We have it in something that's gaining, you know, 1.5% or 2%, which is crazy. So I don't know.
And I think one of the reasons that we haven't taken that next step is we were waiting to see the direction that the board wanted to go.
Yeah.
You know, on this matter, we got a couple other matters, you know, on the horizon.
But are we going to be investing that money in equities? Or
Well,
I doubt it.
Right.
And even
I
if
think
we
as a
don't give
board,
the-
we need to have an idea on how much we need to keep liquid, and we never really established that from the sale.
Right, and that's something that, where I'm looking at doing during this next budget period,
I
which
would
we're
rather
gonna
do
be
that
starting.
plan first before dispersing any funds.
And I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I just want this to stay as part of that discussion, and I think we need to actively keep having this discussion.
I think at the very least, I mean, we have to at least meet the levy requirement. You know, last few years we haven't, and that's exacerbated the problem. You know, there's no excuse that we shouldn't be doing that. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, I think we keep it, especially in the discussion as we start, you know, this budget,
Yeah.
because we're gonna be starting it in the next couple weeks, because that time's coming quickly. But I think we need to keep addressing it, and personally, I think we need to really look strongly at it. Okay.
Right.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Item H, discussion approval to advertise for bids for a general contractor for the new Public Works building build-out.
I'll take this one.
Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to ensure some transparency, accountability, a little bit of cost savings, just in general, and ask if we could get your permission to bid out for a general contractor for the remodeling or the build-out for Public Works building at 31831 South Ratchy Road. I know you all know where it is. If you haven't been there, I haven't been there either. If any of you wanted to go and look at it, I want to go look at it. Sure Bob would take you, he's going to take me soon. But I know that we want to get moving on getting it ready for Public Works to move in, so there needs to be some continued work out there, so we want to get a good price for it, and we feel like we need to go out for bid for that. So what that would entail is just we would just put together some specs. I know we had there's an architect put together some specs, and it was Jeff Jarvis did those, and this would also help us put together a better cost estimate for the upcoming budget. So I don't know that we did have some numbers in the budget, but I don't know they were based on any cost estimates from a contractor or anything, so that would help with that. So we would put out the call to bid in the local newspaper with the requirements that we're asking, and then we'd give them 30 days to give us a sealed bid, and then with a date, and then we'd have a bid opening here at the Village Hall and award it to the most responsible bidder.
Do we have a ballpark figure on anticipated cost of that project?
Well, I asked that question, and I think maybe I don't really know the answer to that, no. So I don't know.
I think what
Bob
we
knows.
did is, we weren't really basing it off, what we were trying to do is do a little each year, like just get it done so we can get in there, you know. So I believe we put 100,000 in there this year.
I mean, that's what's in
That's
the
what was in the
budget.
budget.
I believe there's 90 left. So I just think this is the route to go with the issues we had. That's just my opinion.
And it's my, I mean, that was my desire, you know, is to get this moving, but I think having a true general contractor and just getting everything, you know, bid out, again, that kind of, it gives everybody, you know, all of the local contractors as well as whoever's in the area, you know, a chance to bid. It's not a big job. I think you're gonna probably see more local contractors, you know, bidding on this type of stuff as opposed to people from far away, just because of the scope of the work. It's not huge. I think
Did
we
you
have-
write the specs? Who wrote the specs?
Me and Gene wrote the specs.
Okay. So you know what you want done?
Yes.
And that's in scope of what we've talked about?
Correct.
Heat and electric
Right.
and ceiling and get in there and
Right.
use it.
That's the main thing, is heating it. I call it an ice box. It's with the high ceiling, all that heat is escaping. You know, so we talked about adding some heaters in the ceiling to keep that heat down. We've talked about lowering the ceiling a little bit. So there's a few things we've talked about doing, so.
We've talked about this at the Public Works Committee meeting, and I move that we put this out for bid and get this going. I think it's a disappointment to me that we haven't done this, you know, that we haven't got this building in use. You know, it's just been sitting out there, so.
Yeah, and I think part of our, I mean, we got delayed with the zoning
Yeah.
and
I
we've
know.
gotten through all of that, so like Dr. March said, I think it's time just to get a true direction and get it done.
Do we ever make any headway with, I guess, as far as getting?
Now, I think we're gonna have to get back on that again. I mean, I think we got a number from them at one time. NICOR?
Oh, I never seen the number.
Yeah, and that was with the previous administrator. I never saw anything in writing. I just had a verbal conversation about that. So no, I think we'll get back on that. And so there is a motion by or Trustee March to move forward with the approval to advertise for bids for a general contractor for the Public Works building build-out. Second by Trustee Ham.
March?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Bowden?
Yes.
Maravka?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Item I, a resolution for improvement under the Illinois Highway Code. The resolution authorizes use of motor fuel tax funds for the Corning Avenue resurfacing design engineering. Did you,
Yep.
Troy?
Yep. This is just the standard IDOT resolution form that you need to fill out anytime you use MFT funds in order to use the funds properly and not get audited. So this is for the Corning Avenue resurfacing project, design engineering. Once it goes out to bid and construction, we'll have to do another resolution using MFT funds for the construction match too. But the project in general is funded at 80%.
Is that gonna be a grind and resurface, or is it gonna be a complete tear up and?
It's gonna be a grind and resurface.
And then if we coordinated with Aqua, so I mean, there's not gonna be digging 20 minutes after we get this thing done?
As far as I know, I don't know of anything that they have right now in that area.
I think one of the things that we've talked about previously is there's still some 4-inch down. So, I mean, that's something that we've talked with them about, and if they're going to replace that, you know, this would be the time
Yeah.
We
to
should
do
put the
it.
heat
So
on them for that.
Yeah, we'll definitely,
They implied that we'd work
Correct.
hand in hand and
Yeah.
not get involved in a,
The project will likely begin around August if it's on the June IDOT letting, because it usually takes a couple months for them to get it all approved.
I met also with Keith Mulholland from Aqua. He was gonna put a set of plans together on what they were gonna do first, or the address first.
Mhm.
So I mentioned Corning when I met with him too.
I know I've had that conversation with some of the people there too.
Yeah, but no, it won't be a full reconstruction. So if they had to put new water main in, it'd still be a patch, but it'd be, surfaced over, so you wouldn't see it, so.
Is there curbing involved there too?